Okay guys, so today we're going to be looking at 7.7. Now our learning goal today is to calculate interest earned and account balances. So our first definition with interest is the amount earned or paid for the use of money. You'll see this with bank accounts. If you put money into a savings account in the bank, you will earn interest based off of the amount that you put in that savings account. Or if you take money out from the bank, say for student loans or to buy a house or a car, you will be paying interest on that amount that you took from the bank. Your principal is the amount of money deposited or borrowed. So the original amount of money that you started with, however much we deposited into that bank account or borrowed from the bank to buy our new house. And simple interest is the interest that is earned or paid only on the principal. So that would only be interest that we accrue based off of the principal, which was that starting amount that we either deposited or borrowed into our bank account. So if we scroll down here and we look at our formula, we have I equals PRT. Now I is that interest equals P the principal, rate of interest is R, and time. Time is always going to be in years. Now notice our rate. That rate is going to be a percentage. We can't multiply by a percentage. We have to then change that percentage to a decimal by moving that decimal place over 2 places to the left. And don't forget to always make sure your time is in years. The last definition we have is our balance. Balance is the sum of the principal and the interest. So we write that as the sum A being our balance, is equal to principal plus our interest. Another way we can write that is our balance A is equal to our principal plus PRT. Now we're getting that PRT in place of I from this equation that we have up here, I equals PRT. So we're just substituting that PRT, principal times rate times time, in for this equation at the bottom. So let's go through and try some practice problems as examples. The first problem that I want to look at here is number 1. We have our principal is equal to 100, our rate is 3.5%, and our time is years. So the question is asking us to first find the interest I. Now remember, our equation for I is that I is equal to PRT. We don't know I, but we do know P, R, and T. So I'm going to write our P is 100. Our rate we have up here, 3.5%. But remember, we cannot multiply by a percentage. We have to move that decimal place over. So I'm going to multiply by 0.035. Changing that to a decimal. And our T is 5 years. Making sure it's in years, it is. So if I go through and I put all that information in my calculator, I will get that I equals 17.5. Now the second part of the equation wants us to find the balance, A. Our equation for balance is the principal plus the interest. Now that I know my interest, I can go through and calculate. A equals my principal, which is $100, plus my interest, which I found over here to be 17.5. So my ending balance is going to be $117.50. Let's try another one, working our way through. Our principal is $1,100. Our rate is 2%, and our T is 15 years. So once again, I equals PRT. We have 1,100 times the rate would be 2%, times our T in years, which is 15. When we multiply all of this through, what are we going to get? Well, we're going to get 330 for our interest. Now we have to find the balance. So going through finding the balance, A is equal to the principal plus the interest. Our A is unknown, but our principal is 1,100 and our interest is 330. When we add those together, we're going to get $1,430 for our interest. here is our principal is $10.50, our rate is 3.1%, and our time is 27 months. Now the first thing that I noticed right away is that my time is in months where I need it to be in years. So to change 27 months to years, I'm going to divide 27 divided by 12. And that's going to give me my answer in years, which is 2.25. Now I can plug all of that information in to my interest. I equals P, which is 10.50, times my rate, which is 3.1%, times my time, which now I know to be 2.25 in years. When I multiply all of those through, I will get my final interest, which is $73.24 when we round up. Now to calculate for my balance, A equals P plus I. My A is going to be my principal, which is $10.50, plus my interest, which is $73.24. All of that is going to give me the grand total of $1,123.24. Now, if we look at our word problems, these are not as easy to figure out because we have a bond for $450. That bond earns 6.5% simple annual interest. How much will the bond earn after 10 years? Well, we can go through and just determine that this is purchased. We purchased that bond for $450. So that is my principal. The bond earns 6.5% annual interest. That's my rate. I can see this percentage sign, which tells me that's my rate. How much interest will the bond earn after 10 years? Well, I can go ahead and label it as my time. The question's asking, how much interest will the bond earn after 10 years? So I'm going to need to find the interest, which is equal to PRT. Now what I want you to do is go through and solve for I. What do you get for I? What does I equal? The last problem on your notes is a little bit trickier. You deposit $600 into an account. That's our principal, is what we're starting with. That account earns simple annual interest after 18 months. There's our time. Don't forget, this is in months. We want to change it to years. So you're going to have to divide by 12. Now, the balance is $648.60. Balance is A in our equation, and it wants to know the annual interest rate. So we need to look for an equation that has a rate, a principal, a time, and a balance. The only equation we know that we can do this with is the very last equation on 7.7, which is A equals P plus PRT. Now, once again, the same thing. You're going to take what you know and plug it into this equation. You're solving for R. So you need R to be alone on one end of the equal sign. Once you get R equals, write it in. Make sure it is in a percentage, because a rate should be in a percentage. If you get a decimal, change it to the percent. That's all for today. I'll see you tomorrow in class, and we'll go over the answers that you got for 4 and 5. Good luck.